Stay on your toes. Always stay a student. You don't have it figured out. Don't get cocky. Don't have an ego. You might think you know, but you don't even know what you don't even know.
What's up, Brittany?
Hi. So good to see you.
I know.
So good to
we
see
just
you.
found out that we're Aquarius sisters, and we're just radiating at such a high frequency right now that...
I was just about to say, right before we started rolling, we realized we were the same sign. We were born 1 week apart. And astrology is just the quickest way to like
connect with people.
Connect or run from somebody. Because if you're a Scorpio, I'm running in the opposite direction. But you're an Aquarius. So basically by the end of this podcast, we're going to connect and we're going to fix the world. We're fixing humanity. No pressure.
In the present moment.
In the present moment. Yeah.
And fun fact.
Yes.
My moon is in Scorpio.
Ooh, okay.
So I used to run from Scorpio, but now I'm like, there's Scorpio in me, so there's only so much I can run from.
Well, I've had a lot of Scorpios in me, if you know what I mean. But, and no, that's why I have the feelings about them that I do. But, yeah, no, that's where the growth lies, baby. That's where the growth, no more Scorpio men in me. That's it.
For now.
For now. Famous last words. Yeah.
So for those that don't know, can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am a stand-up comedian, a radio personality, content creator, actor, producer. I was always all those things in my spirit, not always all of those things on paper. But yeah, I'm very happy and proud to say that I do what I love full time. So even if it doesn't take me any farther, as of right now, I do comedy and radio full time and support myself through that. So
yes.
Netflix, I'm freaking waiting. No, I'm kidding. But
manifest it, girl.
Netflix. Every night I do a Kegel and I just say Netflix 3 times and I just hope I get the call the next day. That's it.
Do you know the best way to manifest?
No, I don't. That's literally how I do it.
Learned this.
Okay.
Like when you orgasm at your peak of orgasm,
you
is the
say
best
exactly
way to
what you
manifest
want
because you're at your highest level of frequency. So you doing Kegels is activating that manifestation.
Your mom's off camera shaking her head. She's like, why'd she have to bring that shit into
because I'm a comedian, you can take it, girl.
Yeah, 100%.
And people listening, like, these are good things to know. Like, we can use our energy to work for us.
That makes complete sense because when you're in touch with your sexuality like that and your femininity.
Yes, girl.
And orgasms make you present.
Yes.
And bring you. So the next time I have an orgasm, I want to say it'll be with a man, but it'll probably be by myself. It'll just be me in my apartment screaming, Netflix! Oh! Oh, just for laughs, comedy festival. Oh,
Oh my goodness.
You know, $1 billion, like Taylor Swift. Oh. Yes. So if anyone wonders what I'm doing next door, they're like, were you orgasming? I'm gonna be like, manifesting. Clean your gutters out. Come on. Manifesting. Got it.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you choose this book, The War of Art?
One of my favorite books. I read it probably 3 or 4 times a year. It's a quick read. I'm a workaholic. I love what I do. I'm super passionate about it. I spent a lot of years in a career that I liked and enjoyed and prepared me for what I do now. But I wasn't doing what I was really drawn to do and what I knew deep inside I should be doing. And now that I am, I'm obsessed with it. So all I do is work and do comedy and do radio, and I enjoy it. And I love talking about my craft, and I love creatives. So I think this book, for anybody in any creative discipline, it's my Bible. It's, you know, it's something I go to when I'm in doubt. It's something I go to when I'm having a creative block. And I think everybody should read it, but I especially think if you want to make your own stuff and you're creative, you should read The War of Art.
Yes.
Yeah.
How would you describe this book?
It's tough love. I'll start with that. It's tough love. It's frighteningly objective. It's going to take anybody out of their feelings, out of their ego. I think it's a wake-up call for creatives.
Yes.
And I think it'll resonate with everybody, but it looks at things in a really fair and balanced light. And it kind of puts your worst fears, you know, it's the quickest way to get over your fears to address it and to call it out. And I think this book does that brilliantly and eloquently. Everything you're afraid of as a creative or as an artist, it's like, no, see, here it is. And this is what you're dealing with. And by the way, here's where you're effing up. And here's where you're, you know, so that's what it's a truth serum for me. Yeah.
Yes. One of my favorite lines in the book is creative work is not a selfish act.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift to the world.
Yeah, it is. And I think he goes on to say, to piggyback on that, I think he says like every time you stop yourself from creating or you don't make that thing or you put it off, you are actually doing a disservice to the world because they need to hear from you.
Yes.
And I tell young, I specifically tell female comedians that, that's, you know, I'm obviously not a male comedian, even though I behave like one sometimes, but when I orgasm and scream manifestations. But I tell female comedians that specifically. I always say, like, I don't think you realize how important it is for what you're going through and what your comedy is to be shared. So that's where it's, if you're not creating, you're actually doing a disservice to everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're all creators.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like when we tap into that creative gift, it's almost our duty to explore that till its fullest.
Absolutely.
And bless the world with those talents.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's nothing sadder than wasted time and wasted talent. And as you get older, I mean, I'm 32 going on 75 over here. And
mommy.
Yeah, you know, I can't shimmy too much because I'll break my back. But I'm an old woman. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that like just how important it is and how much time is really the only asset that you have and your talent and everything. So I think that's honestly why I hit the ground running with my comedy career, because I wasn't doing it for so long. And I'm not saying what I did was wasted time, but when I finally made it here and was a creator and an artist, I was like, I gotta go. Mm-hmm. This is it. This is what I always should have been doing. So yeah.
How did you get into comedy?
I think artists and especially comedians, I think you're a comedian if you are a comedian and you believe you're a comedian. So I'm going real deep and existential.
No, go.
Here.
I love this. I'm all here for deep talk.
I'm sitting across from another Aquarius, so yes. I'm not going to hold back.
Don't hold back. Give it to me.
I'm not going to hold back. I think, and I know a lot of artists go through this where if they're not creating in that moment or their ambition takes a hit or they are rejected or whatever the roadblock is, they feel like they're not a musician anymore, they're not a comedian anymore or a dancer anymore, what have you. And I think that if it's your life's passion and it's what you really want, I think you're always a comedian. So when I get asked this question, I think my whole life I've been a comedian, even if I didn't technically start doing stand-up until 3.5 years ago, because I look at my life and the one constant is always making people laugh, using humor to get through everything in my life. My family was really big about laughing through the darkest of times, anything that we were going through. So I truly think I was a comedian since I was a child. Like that's when I got into, I used to love putting on shows, making people laugh, helping my family laugh whenever something was going down. And then I just didn't start doing it in practice until I was an adult. So, but I did, the tactical answer is I did improv from middle school on. Wow. I just always gravitated towards the stage and towards making people laugh however I could. So I started acting in elementary school, improv in middle school, and then comedy's just always been there. Right. Always been a part of my life in some capacity.
What were you doing before you fully stepped into your comedy career?
Avoiding myself. Really. That's like the big answer.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Avoiding myself day to day doing PR, doing corporate PR, because I was too scared to go for comedy and to go for it. And living in New York and afraid to be poor and afraid to not have money and afraid of rejection and just kind of afraid of probably myself. So doing a job that I enjoyed, but just kind of going through the motions. PR was fun. Yeah. But I had a wake up call one day when I was like, this isn't it. This is never going to be it. So.
And how did you break through the fear to be able to step into your power?
I had something bigger than me happen to kind of force that. So I don't know how much of my story you actually, because I joke about it sometimes. I know she's seen me live a couple times. Yeah. So I'm a domestic violence survivor. So prior to starting stand-up and comedy full-time, I was in a 3-year relationship that was physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, it was really bad. Wow. Yeah, very, very bad. Ended in all the legal messes, restraining orders, jail, he's gone. He's dead now. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But he has high cholesterol, so he should be careful. But I was so good. Thanks. It was a bad time, really misguided, really lost. And when something that big happens to you and you lose yourself that much, it kind of thrusted me into a new life. Like I kind of had no choice but to start over. And the one thing I knew I could turn to was comedy. So to say getting over that fear, yeah, that fear was there. If it weren't there, I would have done comedy immediately, full time, pursued it, gone for it right out of high school, right out of college. So yes, that fear was there. And then I think life happened to me and bigger things happened to me. And then that fear of failing as a comedian looked like nothing in comparison. So that's when I got real with myself. And it's as much as it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, it was the best.
Wow.
At the same time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For anybody listening in who is in a domestic violence situation or has overcome it, what would you tell them?
Number one, DM me anytime. DM me on any platform. I will talk to anybody in that situation who wants to get out, wants to change their circumstance 24/7,
What's
whatever
your
I can
Instagram
do.
so they can do
Brittany
that?
Brave.
Cool.
Brittany Brave on everything. Just
Perfect.
easy to find me. Number two, it is not your fault. Don't put pressure on yourself that you're still in it. These things are hard to get out of. It's abuse, it's control, it's power. You're not yourself. You're in an unnatural situation. So don't beat yourself up for still being in it. You will get out. There is a way out. Number three, just, they're stronger than whatever is happening to them.
Yeah.
And it's very human to go through these things. It's very, part of the reason you don't leave or you get stuck is because you beat yourself up.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't help you. That's not going to help you get out of that situation any quicker. You're just going to feel like crap about yourself. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any red flags that someone could look for prior to entering a domestic violence situation?
Oh, man. It ranges from how he talks about his exes or how they, because it's abuse goes every way, how they speak about their exes to do they smoke American spirits? Like the red flags are like all like, no, I'm kidding. I'm projecting. That was my ex. But I will say there's gaslighting and there's all these things and people can pretend to be people that they're not. And sometimes you don't know until you're with them for 3 years and then you kind of uncover that. I will say the biggest thing is like, I lead by intuition.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like it was like, so Italian Catholic, my mother has her third eye open, the Malouk, the rabbit's foot on her neck, the whole thing. Like, my gut is everything. I feel like everything else gets clouded, your head or your heart, but your gut's like, excuse me.
Yes, preach.
Yes. So even more than spotting the red flags is when your gut tells you something, it's
listening.
right. If it's a little off, it's off. And just, if you got to retreat to listen to it and turn the volume up on it, do it. Because I think I knew the entire time in that relationship. It wasn't even about the red flags. I knew deep down, but I just ignored it.
Yes.
That's,
in hindsight, the beauty in it is that you've been able to take that situation and turn it into what you've built for yourself now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever, the most terrible and most beautiful thing.
Yes.
I've ever.
I was having a conversation with our team earlier and we were discussing how oftentimes comedians have experienced the most pain, but yet you see them and you expect them to always be joyful and happy and all these things. And it's like, they're probably the ones that have experienced the deepest thing than anybody else here
has experienced. Yeah. And that's interesting you bring that up because I have almost like I'm a cop-out when it comes to this because I have a double-sided perspective on that. So on the one hand, yes, 100%. I think comedians just feel and see a little bit more than everybody else does. Like we're joking around, but we're not. Right. Actually, it's the opposite. If I'm talking about something on stage, it's because I want to. It's because it's important. It's because it carries a weight for me. I do believe, to provide the other side of it, I don't think you need to suffer to be a comedian either. So I see both sides of that. But I do think, while it's not, and yes, like Robin Williams, who was plagued with tons of mental health issues and was one of the world's greatest comedic actors, he had even said that the reason why comedians are so drawn to making people laugh is because they know what it feels like to feel like a piece of shit or to feel sad or to feel worthless. So they don't want anybody else to feel that way. And they're able to. So there's truth in that. And actually where I'm at right now as a comedian is pretty happy. Like I've been single happily for a really long time. A lot of things are working for me. I'm healthy. I'm grateful. I feel good. So this book too, to I'm learning how to create from a happy place because creating from pain is easy, but creating from happiness and contentment and finding funny when you're not miserable or not going through a breakup, that's like the real challenge. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Wow, I love that so much.
Mhm.
That is so much truth
Mhm.
in what you just said.
Mhm.
One of the concepts from the book that
Mhm.
I absolutely love
Mhm.
is how he says,
Mm.
we live two lives.
Mhm.
We live our life,
Mhm.
and then we have the unlived life within us.
Mhm.
And the only separation is resistance.
That's it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Resistance is it's a character in my head now thanks to this book. Like, and it's like almost like, you know, when you like, we all have that like fear of the unknown, but then once you label something or you see it, it makes so much sense. That's how I felt when I read this book, and he just put a name to it and he's like, it's resistance.
It's resistance.
And made it a thing. Because now that it's a thing and you can see it and feel it, you know how to,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that you do that because I have characters in my head too, right?
Yeah.
Like I sit in a table with all these versions of myself,
Mhm.
and each of them is a character. And that's how I'm able to like partake which version of me wants to show up or why she's thinking what
choose
she's
your
thinking.
fighter that day.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
so this resistance character that has built,
Mhm.
right? The beauty in it
Mhm.
is the choices.
Yeah.
So resistance can look like, oh no, run away, I'm not doing this.
Yep.
Or it can be like, I have resistance because I care, let me lean in. It's a guide because there's something here.
100%.
And just that shift alone changes everything for how you approach the situation, how you approach the choice that you're gonna make.
Yeah.
But resistance is there because you're feeling something. Now lean into whatever you're feeling to be able to, how he says, embrace it and face it.
100%. Yeah. And it's, I don't know if he says it in this book, but it's a parallel quote that resistance points true north. I've always heard, and it's like wherever you're feeling that is where you should go. And I think for the longest time, so many people, we've labeled resistance as defeat or laziness or procrastination is the form that it takes, but it's not concrete. That's the whole point. It's this in-between feeling. You haven't stopped, you haven't given up, you're just pausing or avoiding. So you still have wiggle room. You still have an option to be like, well, wait a minute. Why don't I want to do this? Why am I dreading this?
Yes.
Hang on. What's going on? Kind of thing.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And even like what I have found interesting in my personal journey is resistance even looks different depending on what situation I'm in. So my resistance in career looked like challenge for me. Yeah. I'm going to overcome that resistance. I'm going to face it. I'm going to get there. But resistance in love was like, oh, I'm running. I'm out. Bye.
That just might be an Aquarius problem, but that might be an Aquarius issue.
Sister.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that like I find myself in a situation now where I'm like fully leaning in and it feels amazing.
It's really liberating.
Amazing. And I'm like being able to not fight resistance in love has been so transformative for me, but I've had to do the work to be able to get here and allow that in.
Yeah.
So I find myself run. My human form is run. And my soul is like, lean in. This is the most beautiful thing you've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Trust. So having that conversation with the resistance character in my head of like, your human form doesn't have to run. You can make the choice.
Yeah.
You feel resistance because there is real love here and you deserve this.
Yeah. And
so you accept it.
You usually feel resistance whenever you're approaching something big. That's what the whole pointing true north means. And I honestly think a little bit of resistance is also healthy too, because, and I like in this book that he doesn't demonize. Well, he does a little. Actually, if I were to have one critique about the book, he does demonize resistance a little bit, and I see why. He was trying to get a point across, and he beyond did. But I actually think it's good, because without resistance, we wouldn't know where our focus should be or where our next challenge is. And it's like, then after this book and learning that about resistance, I put that towards exactly what you said, like jealousy, envy, which everybody has in various capacities. And it's like, actually, it's not longing for something else somebody has. It's actually seeing and knowing you have the potential for that accomplishment or that character trait. Why don't I have this right now? Okay, that's where. But a lot of that, and I also want to say, like, I don't know what doing the work looks like for you, But like we talk about doing the work all the time, and doing the work is like, it ranges from, for me, like slowing down and not making choices as fast as I did before, because then I'm going to notice things I didn't, down to like journaling, down to like taking that day off to sleep and recharge. And so, because that is what the doing the work really is. Or else you're not going to make the change without.
And the pattern, right? We're creatures of habits, right?
Oh yeah.
And so my pattern was very much so putting my worth in somebody else, finding myself through somebody else. And I was like, wait, time out. Who am I?
Yeah.
Like, who am I alone? What do I want? Not what does my mom want, my dad want? Who am I? Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? And so that was the first start of me like, okay, there's something here that I want to explore myself. And then doing the work became, I started meditating. I started writing. I started spending alone time, like true alone time. No music, no people, in my own space. Like I created an environment for me to thrive in my personal essence. So now when I show up, I'm showing up as Jenny, not Jenny that was influenced by so-and-so. Or Jenny that was attached to dancing, or like it's just Jenny. Right?
And that's truly a blessing, because most people, unfortunately, live their lives never having that realization. There's a lot of people who go through the motions or live vicariously through other people's influence. And I think that's human nature. We all do. Like my decision to go to New York and not do comedy and do something safe and cushy, like PR, was 100% influenced by my mom and my dad. There's no resentment there, but it was generational. It was money. You're going to be broke in New York. You can't do acting and comedy. You're going to live in a box. It's never going to work. And to that now, like they've now like apologized for that and said like, we were just fearful. And I'm like, yeah, I see that now. There's no resentment. But when I broke free of that influence is when I realized, no, I can do this and I can make this work.
And I've been saying this on so many episodes, and I'm going to keep saying it because I'm the power of repetition.
Oh, yeah.
Our generation is the generation that is making this change. We are the generation that has access to information. We are the generation that is taking action. And that's creating those shifts, not only for ourselves, but for the generations to come.
And I think there's something to be learned from everybody as well, too. I mean, and that goes for like politics, gender, sex, whatever your stance is. Like everything's so polarizing now. And I think we all need to realize like we can take from each other and learn from each other. So in the way like our parents are learning by watching us, you can break the rules. You don't need to work for a traditional boss. You can take risks. You can shave your head. You don't need to get married. You could do whatever. You could do comedy. You can be broke for a little bit but I also think it's like there's certain principles and values that I still keep from my mom and my dad and their generation. And it's just a little bit of both. So, but patterns are everything. And it's like, not to like throw out another quote, but it's like,
no, do it.
It's like if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And that for me in my love life is what I've been trying to apply in like the last year. And it's just all like, if you react this way, the way you usually do, then this is going to end up the way it usually does. Or if you pick this kind of person, it's probably going to. So
where are you in terms of like self-reflecting off of your past love partners?
I'm pretty self-reflective right now. It's funny because I'm probably in the best position to be in a relationship right now. And ironically, now that I'm there, I've changed the narrative over the last couple of months. I don't think I'm seeking it, or I'm not seeking it in the way that I was. Because for the longest time, I was like, I obviously want something stable or committed, healthy, good, etc. And then I also kind of caught myself just saying that to say that. And then it wasn't until like I pulled back, slowed down, and I was like, do you actually need this right now? Do you actually want this right now? Like, I'm not closed off to it, you know? So it's funny now to be there. I was just having this conversation with my roommate last night. Fabulous gay man, fabulous publicist. He's great. He's amazing. And he had always said, he was like, I've been okay being single. I get that intimacy from so many other aspects of my life. My cup is full from so many other things. And I resonated with that. I was like, yeah, mine too. I have an awesome life. I'm super grateful. But I haven't really felt it until like the last 6 months or so. that I was like, why do you keep saying do you really want a relationship? Do you need one right now? I don't know. So it's.
I love that. And I truly believe like the second you really let go of the seeking is when it just comes.
Exactly.
Because you're not putting that emphasis of lack. Well, like I needed a committed relationship because I'm not in one, and like you're already putting this energy out there versus just like, I am in true intimacy with myself and with my life.
Yeah.
And that obviously just gravitates towards you.
Yeah. And you're honestly, I just think on a different frequency, and you're so busy truly actually focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's you want somebody to find you when that's where you are, you know? And I think that was like part of my relationship history. Like,
because they're going to be there.
They're going to be there, exactly. And they're going to think that's the most attractive thing about you.
Yes.
Without even realizing that they think that about you.
Yes.
And I even like look back and think of that relationship. And I mean, granted, I also cut myself slack. It's been a huge theme for me this year. Grace and cutting myself.
Self-forgiveness.
Just like, it's okay. You made a mistake. It's fine. Okay. You just learn from it.
You made a mistake because you must take it to get to your next level.
100. There it is. Yeah. Like, and it's like, oh, okay. You're human. Do you realize that? Because everybody else, realizes it. But that relationship, I was in my 20s. Sorry, I keep knocking this. I was in my 20s. I'm Italian. I can't.
Gotta use the
I'm Italian. I've had 3 coffees and a Celsius. I'm in a great conversation.
Yes.
Here we are.
Just so much movement needs to happen.
Exactly. I'm burning calories right now. Cardio.
And a local. And
exactly.
a local cold brew coffee. The local got you loca.
But the local, let's not blame that. I'm already loca to begin with, but it is delicious. Okay. Yes. But I look at that relationship, and I was in my early to mid 20s, and it's not surprising to me that I landed in that situation, because I was with someone who had a history of abuse. I was with someone who was weak. I was with someone who hadn't fixed his demons. Maybe he has. I hope he has in the time we've been apart. Probably not. Maybe he has, But and while I wasn't, I don't think as maybe broken as he was. I'm using that word lightly. I was also in my early 20s, and I only see now in hindsight, I was nowhere near the person and woman that I am now.
Yes.
I had a good job, but I wasn't doing what I wanted. I thought I liked myself. I love myself even more now. I wasn't taking as good a care of my body as I do. Just so many things that I can see in hindsight. I'm like, it's not surprising that relationship came into my life, because I was on a closer frequency to where he was. So it was, you know what I mean? So
definitely
see it differently.
And the beauty in that is the growth.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to have it all figured out, but it's about us growing and being like, okay, am I better now than I was 10 years ago? Yes. Okay, then let's celebrate that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the epitome of the top. It's just like those steps that you took to get you to that next level. And in turn, be able to create.
Yeah.
It's part of your story now. How do you own that and create from it? That's why I find it inspiring that you sit here and you tell that story in truth and you own it, and then you're able to step on a stage and touch so many souls through it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I'm grateful for that relationship, for forcing me to find stand-up, because what's interesting is I said I would never do stand-up. I did improv theater, dance, I did everything. And I looked at stand-up and I had a respect for it, but I was like, oh, that's not me. I'm not going to do that. Like I do improv, I do sketch, I do other stuff. And I think that relationship was just the tough love little push into the deep end of the pool, just to get me to do it. And now, like I said, now I'm a couple years into stand-up, even more years out of that relationship, and now learning to create from a totally
different space.
And to your point too about all of that growth, it's every time, it's patterns. Every time you say no to something you otherwise would have said yes to but wanted to say no, you broke the pattern. That's it. It's just, and it's also okay if you don't, and growth isn't linear.
Right.
It's really messy. But that's what's so important about those day-to-day things, because every time you get up earlier than you usually would, or you break that pattern, or you say no to something, or you don't allow something or whatever, you're one step closer.
And it's having compassion with yourself through that process.
Yeah. It definitely is. And I don't think I think everybody's too hard on themselves. And
all of us are our own worst critic. We worry about the critics of people watching us online or like commenting. And it's like, we are our own worst critic.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. And
let's be real.
As self-destructive as that is, I would still rather be that. You know what I mean? Because I know there are people that walk around blissfully oblivious and ignorant and think they have it figured out and think that they're killing it and stuff. And that to me is almost now my worst fear. Like self-aware. I always want to operate from a place of like, I know where I'm at, where I got to go, maybe who I'm ahead of, who I still look up to,
right?
You know, and knowing where I am. Yeah. So
what was your first show as a stand-up comedian?
Oh man, I got thrusted into the universe. So many things.
What does
aligned.
thrusted mean?
Thrusted. It's not as sexual.
I know. I'm like, are we here thrusting?
You're giving me.
I'm like, what is thrusted?
You're giving me the eyes like a guy on a Miami nightclub dance floor. Like he's like, yeah, come thrust over here. Like I know.
I'm like, what does that mean?
What does that even mean? What's happening to me? I got. Again, pushed into the deep end because I think the universe was. I really do. I believe in all this. Obviously,
same.
was like you've been wasting time, and now that he's out and this is done, change. Here you go. But my actual first official stand-up comedy show was at New York Comedy Festival, which was insane, and it was like live streamed on TBS and TBS Network socials, and I was so excited to finally do comedy and do what I wanted, and I was hitting open mics and figuring out my voice and doing all this stuff. And a friend of mine was like, my friend works for TBS and they're putting together a variety showcase for different types of comedy for New York Comedy Festival. I think you should audition. And I had nothing of I think I had a 5-minute open mic set of my stand-up, and I just had an acting reel and characters and footage of me doing improv and all this different stuff. And they were like, yeah, we love you. You're going to get a slot. You could do characters, improv, you know, whatever you want to do. And I said, great. And then last minute, they slashed the roster in half. I stayed, and they were like, okay, and we're changing the format of the whole show. It's just going to be stand-up. You have 10 minutes, right? And I had been doing stand-up for a month. I don't even think I had 5. But I was like, I'm not going to not do this.
Take the opportunity.
Yeah. And I was like, yep. And I think I hit like literally in the 30s or 40s of open mics in the less than a week from when they kept me on the showcase to when the showcase date was. And I figured it out. And by the end of the week, I probably had maybe 3 or 4 minutes, maybe kind of 5 or 6. Not really 10, but I was going to I had funny stories and I had things to talk about.
Yes.
And I just got catapulted in. And I mean, listen, thank God TBS has since archived that footage. I don't want that shit on the internet. But I did it and I got laughs and I had fun. But I remembered there was just a different, it was me up there alone with a mic. And I was like, oh, this is it. And I'm like you, I did dance. I did a bunch of different art forms that I love. But something that day
ignited.
I was like, this is it. Ooh, I could do whatever I want here. I could say whatever I want. I have people. I don't know.
Yes.
That's what did it. So it's insane. But that was my first actual show. And I kind of hit the ground running with stand-up in New York. I was lucky. And I worked hard. And I worked hard.
Lucky. You worked hard.
But those TV credits and stuff came in. But I really, truly think it was the universe being like, oh, welcome. Finally.
You've arrived.
We've been waiting. This is what you should have been doing all these X amount of years that you're welcome. Here you go.
You needed to wake up to that existence.
100%.
We can tell ourselves, oh, why not when I was younger? Why not 10 years ago? You weren't ready. It has to align. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And when it aligns, it aligns.
It's beautiful and you can't fake that. And you can't, I think that all the time. Oh, I wish I started younger, yada, yada. But I'm like, man.
It wasn't your time. You needed to build the story. You needed to build the context, the texture,
I'm like, what would I have talked about?
Exactly.
And I know what I do with my stand-up is different. It's not, I don't do wordplay. I don't do puns. I don't do, and that's fine. I have a very darker, raunchier, well, you've seen, and and I really do believe it's stand up and to make people laugh, but because of what I've been through, it's just something a little bit.
Yes.
I've had girls come up to me and be like, thanks for talking about XYZ. I personally really needed to hear that. Or girls come up to me afterwards and be like, DM me hey, I need an abortion. And I know you talk about stuff like that in your act. And how do I go about, can you help me? And I'm scared. And so it's, the baseline is always, yes, make people laugh. But I think that's the end goal.
Yeah.
So, but I would have never, ever been able to have done that had I started stand up.
Yeah. That's
earlier.
so powerful.
Thanks.
So powerful. Thank you for leaning into your creative work.
Thank you.
And for gifting us.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody who's ever laughed at me or come to a show or watched a clip or given me a shot or even just listened to me, even if they didn't like it. Because that stuff goes two ways. And I think that book talks about that too. Like it's the duality of life, and that's fine. But you keep going because you know that inner calling inside of you is longing to be on that stage and longing to make impact. I'm telling you, I first saw you and I was like, you're so good. Oh, thanks.
I was like I genuinely laughed. And no, I was not drunk. Okay? Like,
it's okay if you were. That show
I
is.
know, but like I wasn't. Like I was genuinely laughing because sometimes when you're drunk, it's like anything somebody says is pretty funny. But like I was just genuinely like, wow, this is hilarious.
Awesome.
The spin-off of things. Yeah. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for gifting us. Have you ever bombed it on stage?
God, yeah. All the time. All the time.
Can you tell us a story about when you bombed it like bad and you were just like, what just happened?
Oh, God. Yeah, this is actually somewhat recent too. So I think you're going to always bomb. Always. So whenever I hear comedians go, I never bomb, I'm like,
yeah.
A, you're unaware. B, liar. C, a bomb changes. Like when you first start at any craft, a bad day looks one way, but then a bad day is going to look a different way when you're 5 days in. I mean 5 years in. I'm sorry, 5 years in. So, and that's how you have to and that's why I love this book about self-analyzing, looking at your own art objectively, realizing you're not making it for yourself and taking your ego out because you always bomb. As a comedian, even if you didn't think I bombed or the audience didn't, I have to have a barometer for myself when I get off stage that I'm like, I didn't like that. That to me that's a bomb.
Yes.
So and this is what I love about stand-up because it just keeps you on your toes more than any other art form. I had sold out Dania Improv, did over an hour, standing ovation, best night of my life, busted my ass for it. This was in June. And it was great. I worked really hard. It was one of the best shows of my life. And I was like, oh, buddy, the bomb, it's coming. And then like 5 days later, major show at the Miami Improv, opening up for this comedian who's curating Miami's best comedians, one show every month. I'm on the first one with a couple other comics. And I have the worst day. I could blame it on a bunch of things. I had the worst day. I didn't prepare. I had a bunch of shit happen. It was just whatever. And I get on stage. This was all in a week in June. Like best show of my life, one of the worst shows of my life. Wow. One of, maybe not the worst, but one of. And like, went out there and just never got the crowd, wasn't in tune with myself, wasn't feeling it. They did not like me. It did like, and it kind of, I could go into it. I got off stage and I was like, that's the beauty of any art form, mostly stand up, but like any art form, like keep going.
Yes.
You're always a student. There's always something to learn. That bubble that I had from the week before at my show was perfectly burst. And I feel like that was the resistance or whatever being like, cool, you accomplished that. Get back to work. Cause see, it could still happen. So it's just, and then I also was like, the best part about that bomb, I'll tell you this, is it gave me a new barometer for my failure, a new meter and metric for my failure. Cause I got off stage and I was like, oh, that's a bomb. I'm going to go a little easier on myself because that's a bomb. But it happens all the time. And if you just, it's a numbers game, any art form. The more you create, the more you're going to win. And the more you're going to make stuff that sucks, the more you're going to bomb. But yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Any comedian that's like, I never bomb. I'm like, you're not challenging yourself. You're not working hard enough. You're not self-aware. You don't really care about it. You're not, everybody bombs and you just got to, you know what I mean? So
what's the best advice you've ever received?
Ever?
Yes.
About anything? My dad always, I don't know, this is coming to my mind. My dad always says, you don't know what you don't know. And I always used to think that he was just being a cryptic Italian father. Like Italian. Like, is that what you guys used to say in the mafia or something? Like, you don't know what you don't know. Let me tell you something. Okay. I was like, what are you even talking about? That's the dumbest thing ever. And then you live life and you mess up a lot and you get humbled and you I found myself going, man, I don't know what I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Shout out to Pops.
Yeah. So, and I think that goes back to like, stay on your toes, always stay a student, stay curious. You don't have it figured out. Don't get cocky. Don't have an ego. You might think you know, but you don't even know what you don't even know, kind of thing.
All I know is I know nothing.
Exactly. All I know is I know nothing.
Shout out to Gandhi.
If you operate from that space, It's
For sure.
safe. It's good to operate
For
from that
sure.
space. So that comes to mind. Shout out Tony for that one.
Shout out Tony.
It took a lot of years, but I finally think I think I know. Imagine I ask him one day and I'm just like, what does that really mean? And he's like, football or something like, and I'm like, oh God, Dad,
Something
really?
off the grid.
Something like random. He's like, you took that seriously? I was just,
Well, it hit a chord. It strung a chord in me.
It worked. Struck the
Yeah.
fear of God in me. So yeah.
Is there a favorite takeaway you have from this book?
So many. The resistance was a big one, just because, again, it like how we were talking about the characters in our head. It personified that feeling of, why am I doubting myself for not doing this? There's like I'm going to butcher it, but I think the stuff about ego and how the artist approaches its art, and especially with what we do, there's so much glorification of the celebrity and of the fame and of the laughs, or even as comedians, you killed, you crushed, you or whatever, and so much of this. And there's like a section of the book where it's like the artist doesn't concern himself with that.
Yeah.
The artist doesn't care about a kill or care about a bomb. The artist gets off stage and knows back to work. Like just this like, and this immersion and this respect for your craft.
Yes.
Because so many other distractions.
Yes.
So that was the takeaway.
Yes.
The artist doesn't really even know if they killed or they bombed. They know it was one more rep, and they look at their set as research because now they know what works and what doesn't. Back to work. That's it. Like, and it just kind of helped me like shed that fluff.
For sure.
Shed that fluff. Yeah.
And one of the biggest inspirations right now in our current generation has been Rick Rubin. Like
Yeah.
him coming out and speaking and just
Yeah.
talking about art. Like, you do art for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like you do it for you and other people benefit from it. But it's like, what's your artwork? What's your craft? Not following other people's formulas, learning from them. But what's your formula? What comes out of your craft? And not it being like celebrating you, but not it being at the forefront. Well, I'm doing this to get the fame. I'm doing this to reach the numbers. I'm doing it. That'll come organically.
It does.
When you're in alignment with your true nature of creation.
I think all that stuff, the hungrier you are and thirstier you are for all of that fame, and I gotta go viral and I gotta get this and I gotta whatever. I'm like, oh man, that's the quickest way to chase that shit away. Like,
For
just
sure.
like, that's it.
Any project I work on, I'm very transparent. I'm like, look, I get it's a numbers game and the numbers will come in time, but I need to be genuinely myself.
Yeah.
Like, if you want me to play a character, I'm not the girl for
I
that.
can't do it.
You know, and it's gonna take it longer, but when it hits,
Oh yeah, it hits. And you're in your own lane, which nobody can take from you.
exactly.
And it's hard because not everybody subscribes to that. And then you do see people or things.
And that's fine. You're not for everybody.
You're not for everybody.
And that's so okay.
And that's awesome because that means you're saying something and you're doing something.
Yes.
The person who's for everybody is doing nothing.
Yeah.
And saying nothing,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, 100%. And then that's such a balance. I interviewed Timbaland for the radio station recently too.
Oh,
and
wow. How
yeah,
was that? How
great.
was interviewing Timbaland?
Great. Love what he does with his craft, how obsessed he is with it, how gifted he is at it. You can tell even so many years in the game and so many gold records, money, Grammys, whatever. He still is so obsessed with his craft. And like that balance of, I do think you make your art for you because you need to, and you have to make stuff you like.
Yes.
And as a comedian, I have to get on stage at night and kind of be like, well, there is an element of like, this is me and this is what I talk about, and that's it. But then there's also, it's such a balance because then it's also something happens, which I think this book teaches you too, when you realize it is for other people. It's about them. So like comedians get off stage at night and they're like, you know, I just see it like, why aren't you guys laughing? And what the fuck you guys? And I'm like, once you realize like, yes, it's your art, but it's for other people.
Right. Exactly.
It's such a, so
It's a nice little dance.
It's a dance for sure. It's a tango.
Oh, is.
It's a thrust.
A thrust.
A thrust, if you will.
With a Kegel, maybe.
Exactly.
So we're going to play a fun little game.
Love it.
Okay.
I love fun little games.
All right. You're here. You're ready.
Yay.
It's called Mind Meld.
I know Mind Meld.
Oh, you do?
If it's we're going to each say a word and then we're going to try to reach and say the same word. Girl, I did so much improv and I used to teach improv. Let's mind
go.
meld. I
All right.
love this.
So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we say the word.
Any word, right?
Any word.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, close.
Banana.
Okay, banana and close.
Yep.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, yellow.
Home.
Okay, yellow and home.
Yep.
Okay. 1, 2, 3,
Sun.
couch. I was gonna say sun and the couch came out. Dang it.
We're getting there though. We're getting there. We're getting there. Growth isn't linear. Growth isn't linear. We're
Okay.
getting there. Wait,
Okay.
so you said
Couch and sun.
wait, okay, couch and sun.
1, 2, 3, light.
Towel.
Okay, towel and light. Okay, towel and light. In between towel and light.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
1, 2, 3, bathroom.
Beach.
Okay, in between bathroom and beach.
Bathroom and beach?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, porta potty.
Porta potty. I almost didn't say it because I was like, that's going to be too specific. And then I was like, no, it's a porta potty. Ah, yes. That's better than an orgasm. Yes, it is, honestly. It's better than an orgasm.
See?
Orgasms
are there every day. It's if we take advantage of it or not.
That's it.
And they come in different forms.
Oh my God, yay.
We did that.
We did
Another
that.
high five for that.
Freaking, yes. I kind of want to play again. Anyways, yeah.
And let's just keep going.
Yes, that's so good. Yes.
Oh.
I love that game.
Yeah. So we're doing bonus round.
Yeah,
we have to
got
find
this.
we have to find the commonalities between both words to get to the same word. All
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Never been more ready.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's turning me on.
I've never said porta potty with such passion before. I've never been so happy to say porta potty than I would just
Porta
was. Porta potty. Oh
The
my
next
God.
time you're peeing in a porta potty, you're thinking about this.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to be like, Johnny! You're going to hear me.
I feel you. All right.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Hawk.
Moon. Moon and hawk?
Moon and hawk.
Hawk. Okay, moon and hawk. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Sky.
Night. Okay, in between night and sky.
Wait. Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Stars.
Let's go! Why are we so good? You know what it is? You know what it is? You know why we're so good at this game? It's because it's 2 Aquariuses coming into
yeah.
alignment.
You can't. Sorry, guys.
If you don't have an Aquarius in your life, get one today.
Also, if you don't believe in astrology, we just disproved you a little bit. Sorry.
Literally.
Yeah.
Sprinkling some zodiac in there.
Because 2 Aquarians can be in a room and barely know each other, exchange a glance, and they're like, we're thinking the same thing, aren't we? Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right when you go, you're like, how are we going to change the world? How are we going to do this? I'm like, yes, all of that language.
I haven't had a good round of mind meld like that. I'm like so hype right now.
Let's go.
Like this is just a mind meld podcast right now.
Now we know something we're very gifted at.
That was invigorating. I've been up for literally 10 hours today and I'm like wide awake, ready to go now. Yeah.
The local cold brew coffee's helping you out, girl.
I honestly
Take a sip.
Successful Mind Meld brought to you by Loco Coffee.
Yes. Get yours today at drinkloco.com.
Ooh. Ah.
Delicioso.
She's loco.
She's loca. Él es loco. That's the slogan. We just made it up.
Live and La Vida Loco over here.
Yes.
Love it.
Brittany, thank you so much for being here. Like,
Thank you for having me.
wow, I just feel like I'm radiating so high right now.
Yeah, same.
We're just going to stay here.
Same.
But thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
BrittanyBrave.live, Brittany Brave on Instagram, TikTok, all of the things. I'm on tour. I'm doing a whole bunch of cities. Tempe, Memphis, New York, Fargo, North Dakota, Key West, all coming up in the next, by the time this airs, it'll be the next couple of months.
Yes. Yeah. So make sure to check my girl out for some nice laugh and some positive energy and just some good vibes.
Yes, please come to a show, but get ready to get roasted. Don't take yourself so seriously.
Yes. And where can they find your tour dates at?
My website. I'm all over social media, and I'm always in South Florida. So for South Florida watchers and listeners, I'm always performing in South Florida.
Solid.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, friends. We just finished rapping with Brittany Brave, discussing The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. I'm sure you got some nice laughs in, so make sure to comment your favorite part of today's episode. If you want to check out the book, make sure to click the link in the description below to get your copy today. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn the page. We'll see you in the next one. Shout out to our sponsor, Local Cold Brew Coffee.